5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead.
I had absolutely no say-so as to what was happening there. I was just like a tool in the hands of the devil. It's the only way I can put it.
Told you before, you got the wrong house.
Yeah, cool, man.
Who is that?
This tape,
Cease to tell.
it contains subliminal messages.
This person, these people, they're a threat to my safety and to the safety of my baby.
The line's dead.
What?
Welcome back to Based on a True podcast, the podcast where we talk about how Hollywood looks at true crime and real people. We are continuing our 4-week look at how Hollywood has portrayed the Manson family crimes. We started out with our dueling versions of Vincent Bugliosi's book, Helter Skelter. We just did our most recent episode on the Manson girls in media, looking at Charlie Says and Manson's Lost Girls. And this movie that we're talking about today does not have a GQ-worthy Charles Manson like our last film did, but in its place, it has the supernatural and all sorts of weirdness that we are going to be putting with a question mark. It is the 2019 feature, The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Before we get into that, we just like to remind you that we love doing these episodes and we appreciate all of your support. Please tell your friends about us, people who love movies, people who love biopics, old Hollywood. Please subscribe to our social media channels if you aren't already doing that. Twitter at ticklish_biz, searching for our YouTube channel. We're also on Instagram. Please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. Those do help. We just got a new one, which has been really awesome to see. And again, if you know people who have not subscribed to our Patreon, patreon.com/ticklishbiz, we have put up a new goal that if we hit 300 subscribers, we will kickstart a 52 episode series focused exclusively on every movie in TCM's The Essentials book series. So that's all happening out there in the ether, but let's take it back to 1969 and The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Kim, we have talked for 2 episodes now. We've watched now 5 movies.
Yeah, this will be the 5th.
We said in the first 2 episodes that we didn't know a whole lot about Sharon Tate in those films. Those movies had either tangentially referenced them, shown her as just a corpse or a victim, or played on the myth that she had met Manson at some point. We certainly got our wish with this movie because it is all about Sharon Tate.
I have been sitting here for the last 3 days since I watched this, trying to figure out how I was going to address this topic when we discussed it, because I've been, of the two of us, the more critical in how these people have been depicted in these films. I think I said last week, there's a very thin line, and this jumps over that line and gives us, sure, it's great we get to see them, but this wasn't what I wanted. This wasn't anything of what I wanted.
We said last episode that it was hard for us to discuss the possibility of a movie that presented a Manson girl as a possible victim. I know that I had trouble talking about Charlie Says and how that movie had kind of made the argument that maybe we could see the Manson women as victims. This movie says, what if we saw Sharon Tate as a hero? And I feel like that's just as hard to talk about, if not harder.
I'm a fan of alternate histories. Well, I will say I am a fan of some alternate histories. I am a big advocate for Inglourious Bastards. I've sat through some films like that and I liked it. I don't necessarily think I had a problem with this film as spinning Sharon Tate as the hero. My problem with this revolved around script. They were trying to do some very interesting things in this film, but it got lost in a sea of self-righteous, pseudo-intellectual dialogue that thoroughly and completely believes its own hype. I can't fault the performers at all, but this film, no, I felt physically sick watching this film.
God, Kim, tell us how you really feel. I don't think I've ever seen you this critical of something. So, and we're going to talk about, you brought up Inglourious Bastards, because boy, does this movie owe a debt to Tarantino, which we'll be talking about him in our last episode next week. That should be fun. So if you listen to the trailer that opens this episode, you should get a quasi good idea of what this movie is about. It is written and directed by Daniel Farrens, who is a proponent of creating alternative storytelling in the horror genre. He has done several of these movies. He did the Amityville Murders, which is an alternative look at the Amityville case. He's also done a movie called The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, which I have also seen as well. A movie that says, you probably know who killed Nicole Brown Simpson, but what if that person didn't do it? And also, what if Nicole Brown Simpson just had sex with the wrong guy, and that's the reason she died? It's utterly, and I hate to use the term hilarious, but it is very funny in how it kind of takes what, I remember when people were talking in the wake of stuff like Grindhouse, going back and looking at stuff like Nazi-sploitation, or movies that really were like making fun of the people that they were depicting. And I feel like Farrens thinks that he's not necessarily making fun of these people, but there is that element of saying, what if I took these characters and told a completely original story? And look, there's people that have done that. We do that with Marilyn Monroe all the time. We've talked about Marilyn Monroe from so many different angles and put her in so many different not true settings that it is somewhat similar. But this takes a whole different turn. I should also say that Daniel Farrens is currently working on a film called Eileen Wuornos, American Boogie Woman. That is a title. That is a title. Okay.
Who keeps giving this man money?
Schlock Studios. But that movie also is about Eileen Wuornos with Peyton List from the Disney Channel as Eileen Wuornos. I'm not going to say that I'm going to probably watch that, but I probably will watch it. And you can say whatever you want about me, Kim. I understand that I have problems. But The Haunting of Sharon Tate specifically is taking a very tangential piece of ephemera that supposedly exists. I have not found proof that supposedly there's video of this. I know it was copied ad nauseum in magazine articles. Allegedly, there is video. But it's an interview that Sharon Tate gave about a year before she was killed, where she had talked about having a dream that predicted her own death. And we kind of ran with that in this movie, which is that was a premonition. What if Sharon Tate knew that something bad was happening to her and was trying to prevent fate? And it draws a lot on not just Once Upon a Time in Hollywood before that movie necessarily came out, but very heavily on Rosemary's Baby, which is the movie that Polanski made. It owes a debt to a lot of other films made by far better filmmakers. That being said, I've seen this movie 3 times, and I do find something completely fascinating about this movie's existence. It is not good. I want to preface that. It is not good by any stretch of the imagination. It is cheaply made. It feels cheaply acted. There are moments in this movie that I laugh heartily every single time I see them because they are so cheaply put together. There is a sequence where a character is in a bathing suit and says, I'm going to go home, but if you need me, I can come up here in 10 seconds, and then proceeds to go down the steps into the bush in nothing but a banana hammock. No towel, no shoes, no nothing, just leaves.
The most tight whiteies we've ever seen, ever. That was, whoa.
And I was just sitting there thinking, how far does this person live because I hope to God that he's not getting scratched up by the elements or a sunburn or something.
This episode is made possible thanks to the continued support of our lovely Patreon subscribers. If you'd like another way to support us, recommend us to anyone looking for classic entertainment goodness. You can also leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you aren't yet a subscriber, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/ticklishbiz for giveaways, early access, and lots more additional bonus content.